Hello everyone, this is part 11 of What If Naruto Had a Secret, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. The Sandaime sighed, staring out the window behind his desk at the village. He could remember finding the Naruto doing that a lot toward the end, just staring and staring. Was it something about this office or job that slowly sucked the life out of a person? Or was it the fact that those who earned this job were not the type suitable to being trapped behind a desk? The Shodai and Naruto Hokage, as far as the Sandaime could remember, had been more at home in a fight than pushing paperwork. The Yondaime had been the same way, though he was the only Hokage that had ever managed to escape the tediousness of the job. In some ways the Sandaime hoped that Naruto would never succeed in his dream. It would not be fair to trap so similar a ninja in this situation. Of course, the Sandaime mused silently, he also hoped with all of his heart that the boy could pull it off. If for no other reason than to tick off those doddering idiots on the council. Shaking his head, the Sandaime turned back to his desk and the scroll stretched out before him, his eyes sweeping over the message once more. It was a 3-day-old message from the daimyo, but just reading those words again made the Sandaime wince. The storm on the horizon was approaching faster than he had expected, and he was unsure of how much longer he could keep things calm. At least he now had the Anbu actively searching for Jiraiya or Tsunade. He had made it quite clear to Kakashi that they had to be found immediately. Still, he felt something gnawing at his heart, telling him that neither one would be found soon enough. He prayed that he was wrong or growing pessimistic, but with his already failing health declining rapidly, the Sandaime couldn't just dismiss such a feeling. Sighing, he put such concerns aside and picked up his pipe, studying it intently, wondering if he should indulge or not. Would it really matter? He was saved from making such a decision when the door to his office opened, followed by the familiar and confident gait of Kakashi. So, I have received several reports, Kakashi responded, closing the door behind him before approaching the desk. Nodding, the Sandaime motioned with his free hand for the Anbu commander to go ahead, then leaned back in his chair as Kakashi put his replacement book away. Ah, that reminds me, has Anko-chan returned your book yet? No, Kakashi almost growled, eye narrowing dangerously. Stifling his laughter, the Sandaime avoided the fuming ninja's glare. Personally, he found it hilarious that, not only had an upstart genin stolen Kakashi's book from under his nose, but that Anko had made it a point of teasing him with said book. Even more hilarious was the fact that, for some strange reason, all the other copies of that particular book within Konoha had disappeared. It's not funny, Kakashi finally said, his tone almost pleading. The publisher has no clue as to when the next book will come out, and the book I'm reading now is severely lacking in such areas. Yes, of course, the Sandaime chortled before regaining control of his humor. Sighing, Kakashi shook his head, muttered something about the Sandaime not understanding fine literature, then changed subjects. Shinta-san sent a report that his latest search party managed to track the remaining Anbu responsible for the attack on the daimyo to Fushimi. I've already handed Anko-san her orders, along with all the details available. Excellent, Sandaime said, anxious to at last have some worthwhile information on this unity. There had been rumors for years, but little if any real information. Even their name had been hidden until the attack on the daimyo, which was also the first time that they had ever actually committed such an act. The Sandaime could only thank Benzai Ten that, not only had the fire daimyo accepted that the Anbu involved were not under the Sandaime's personal orders, but also for the chance to gain a new source of information. Shaking it off and trusting that Anko would obey all of the orders she still hadn't forgiven him for transferring Naruto, he leaned back in his seat, leaving it to Karma. On the lighter side, Kakashi continued after a moment, Juuso-san has received final confirmation for the number of participating genin in the upcoming Chunin exam. Ah, so, how many do we have coming? Sandaime asked, finally lighting his pipe. 144 participants, Kakashi answered, glancing out the window. That's 48 teams total, which is a marked increase from the last exam. Ah, Sandaime said, eyes narrowing as leaned forward to rest his elbows on his desk. How many teams were there last year, again? 29. It appears that Kusa is anxious to increase its number of chunin, Kakashi said dryly, glancing at the Sandime. All eligible non-rookie Konoha ninja have been nominated. All that's left are the 3 new teams. I wonder how many of those will participate. Sandai mused, scratching at his chin before blowing a smoke ring. Kurenai-san has repeatedly assured me that her team is ready for the exams. To quote, I have the utmost confidence in my team. I dare your examiners to try and break them. The Sandime chuckled before blowing a large smoke ring. My, but Kurenai-chan is getting quite why. Oh yes, Ibiki has already assured me that he will take that challenge, Kakashi said, chuckling as well. Yugao has also told me that she received word that Hayate is confident in his team as well, especially with the addition of that boy. The way he said, boy, made it quite clear what the Anbu commander thought about Naruto. What of Asuma's team? They should be ready for the exam as well, the Sandime said, changing the subject to avoid laughing at the man. Skill-wise, Asuma says they are more than ready. They are the best team he's ever seen, but they lack motivation, Kakashi said after a moment. Hinata-san appears to have a desire to change herself and, thus, to take the exam, however, she is not the type to push others. Which means that Shikamaru won't motivate himself, and since Choji follows his lead, there is little chance they will take this exam. I see, the Sandai mused, blowing several more smoke rings. He would have liked all 9 to attempt it, but if they lack the motivation, they would only hurt themselves in the long run. So, we'll have a total of 50 teams with teams 7 and 10. Yes, Kakashi answered, eye dropping slightly. That should make things go faster, at least, the Sandime finally said in dismissal. I agree. Also, Kusada seem to be preparing for something, but it's very well hidden. Iwa, however, is making it very obvious that they want the head of the Kazekige's son, Gaara. Oh, yes, apparently Gaara was part of a team that was hired to the Rock Daimyo's grandchild. Kakashi shrugged, making it obvious that he had nothing else on the reason why such an order would be given. To be on the safe side, I've moved several Anbu special operations closer to both countries' borders for training exercises. Good. I'll start redirecting some of our Jonin missions toward those areas as well, the Sandime said, setting his pipe aside for the moment. For some reason, the fragrant flavor was turning bitter in his mouth and distracting him, which was not a good thing. Now, what about my wayward students? That, I'm sad to say, is like trying to catch the wind, Kakashi said tiredly. Tsunadheim, despite massive gambling debt, has eluded all means of locating her. The same holds true for Jiraiya-sama. Despite being quite the prolific author, he has somehow completely fallen off the face of the earth. I have confidence in your ANBU, Sandime said after a moment while grinning. Then a wicked idea hit him, one that would undoubtedly force the man to step up the search. I guess this means I will have to hand over the lure of Hokage to someone else. Yes, somebody that truly wants the job, Sandime continued, his tone serious. Somebody young, maybe with blonde hair and blue eyes. Or you, I mean you do met all the criteria for Hokage. Quote. I will find them, Kakashi suddenly said, see the Sandime off. Smiling, the old man watched as Kakashi produced his replacement book and left the office in a hurry. When the door was shut, the Sandime started laughing. Upon seeing the massive gates of Konoha, Naruto wanted to weep. Okay, that was an exaggeration, but he was definitely happy to see them. After all, once he was back inside those walls, he would be free of Ino's Shino's annoying silence and Hayate's aggravating cough. Of course, even more importantly, once he was back in Konoha he would be able to do the one thing he desired above everything else, he could eat his precious ramen. His mouth watered at the prospect, his stomach even rumbled in agreement. 10 number 5s, 3 number 4s and, of course, a Hokage-sized serving of his favorite, miso ramen. Barker! Ino suddenly shouted, him upside the head. Everyone else is already inside, what are you doing standing out here daydream oh my god, are you drooling? Ino suddenly began wiping her hand against her leg wrappings. EWWWWWWWW. What the hell are you hitting me for? Naruto shouted, rubbing at the side of his head, completely missing the look on Ino's face. You were daydreaming and drooling. So what? Naruto shouted back, then, pulling an eye down, stuck his tongue out at her. Least I don't have bee eyes like some drunk. What? Ino shouted, shaking a fist at him threateningly. Hayate-sensei explained that's from the soldier pills. Whatever, Naruto muttered before walking away from the angry girl while ignoring the bewildered and, in one case, perturbed, gate guards. He believed her, but he just enjoyed pissing her off. Hell, on the entire way back, she had treated him semi-decently. He suspected that was mostly due to the fact that he had saved all there and she was too tired to really make an issue out of his annoyances. Coming to a stop just inside the gates, he stretched, eyeing an even sicker than usual looking Hayate. Silently, he wondered if he would ever be normal again, but then he remembered Ino and her return to normal halfway back to the village. That was when he noticed that Shino was nowhere to be seen, which worried him slightly. They were on the same team after all. Oi, where the hell is Shino? He had to see his father, Hayate answered, his voice raspy. I told him to go on ahead. So, now what? Naruto finally asked, double-checking that he was now free to pursue his ramen. Are we getting another mission or training? UHMM? No, I'm going to file a report with the Hokage, Hayate said before coughing into a rag. Ino, remember noon at the training area? Yeah, Ino said nervously as she finally joined them. Hayate nodded in response and then, without another word, disappeared in a puff of smoke. Casting a glance at a distracted Ino, Naruto shrugged, put his hands behind his head and started off, guessing correctly that he had nothing to say to the girl. Besides, his ramen was calling him. And just where do you think you're going? Naruto stopped, turned and blinked, staring at the girl, wondering why she had her arms crossed and her hip head like that. Oi, why the hell should I tell you? Because, I want to go shopping, Ino said simply, as if that answered everything. And? Naruto questioned, waving his hand blandly. Go ahead, I'm not going to stop you. First of all, I need someone to carry my bags, Ino replied, closing the gap between them. Second of all, you are the only ones still here. So, Naruto crossed his own arms, preparing to leave. Third, I'll buy you ramen if you come shopping with me. Naruto hesitated. Normally, there was no possible way Ino could get him to go with her. However, this was ramen, and not just any ramen, but free ramen. To say that he was torn was an understatement. After all, he would be shopping with Ino, but, free ramen. Ino seemed to guess at his reluctance, and she gave him a sly smile. I'll even make it miso ramen. Naruto froze, staring at the girl in surprise. Never in a million years would he have expected her to use his weakness in such a fashion. Hell, he was utterly surprised by the fact that, not only had she listened to him talk about his favorite ramen, but remembered. Miso ramen. Naruto finally stammered weakly, mouth-watering. Free miso ramen. Ino corrected proudly. Oh okay. Naruto muttered, unable to turn down such an offer. Part of him cursed at the fact that he had been utterly defeated by the chance at free noodles. Then, of course, that part remembered this was free miso ramen and it promptly shut up. 20 minutes later, Naruto found himself walking into his sixth high-end clothing store, wondering why she needed him to carry her bags if she wasn't buying anything. Trailing after Ino, he felt the now familiar cold glares that was sent his way, knowing already that they were for his gauntlet wearing orange. Shaking his head, he caught up to Ino, who was surrounded by jackets. Oi, can you hurry up? Naruto muttered, glaring at one of the jackets as if it had offended him. Give it a rest, Ino responded, running a sleeve through her fingers. Shopping isn't just selecting things that look nice, you have to hunt. You have to find just the right material, silk or cotton, make sure it's not too soft, but not too firm. You have to make sure you know if it's tumble dry or not. They're just clothes, Naruto shouted, throwing his arms up in exasperation. For the love of Kami, just pick something already. What's your childhood trauma? Ino snapped, glaring at him. This is important, okay. Like, selecting the perfect flower. Ugh. Naruto tugged at his hair and then paused, noticing something about the jackets she was looking at. Blinking, he studied them, then, frowning, realized that she had looked at the same type in all the other stores as well. Hey, Whatif, why the hell are you looking at these? Huh, these, Naruto said, gesturing at the jackets, wondering if she was shopping for who he thought she was. The guy jackets. If you're trying to buy that idiot Sasu. First off, Barker, Sasuke-kun isn't an idiot, Ino said see him off as she selected a jacket. And second, I'm not shopping for him. Oh. Naruto paused then blinked. Then, who? You. Ino sighed, turning as she held out a jacket to judge it against him. What? I can't stand orange, and you need a new jacket, Ino replied matter-of-factly, putting the jacket up while selecting another one. I decided that, if I have to spend who knows how long running around with you on my team, then I sure as hell don't want to see orange. What? Naruto shouted yet again, eyes even wider. Ino wanted to rob him of his second true joy in the world. Orange is a classic. It's even the perfect color and it's like ramen. A gift from the gods themselves. Orange is an eyesore, Ino retorted, eyes narrowing. Besides which, has it ever occurred to you that, now that you're an actual ninja, you might need something that won't draw everyone's attention to you? I don't care, Naruto shouted, crossing his arms. I'm wearing orange, and there's nothing you can say or do to change that. Wanna bet? Ino questioned challengingly. You may be the strongest person on this team, but I'm Yakamana Ino, and I can make your life a living hell. I could probably even get Hayate to withdraw us from the Chunin exams. Naruto opened his mouth, ready to respond to such a statement, then paused. It was only because of Anko that he even considered what the girl had just said. After training with that woman, Naruto was acutely aware of just how much of a living hell a female could make his life. Plus, he had seen her convince Hayate to do things her way once or twice, so there was the fact that he believed that if she wanted she could get him to pull them out of the exam. Damn it, Naruto muttered, glaring at her impotently. Now, then, let's see. Ino said, smirking at him smugly before she turned back to the racks of clothes. Despite his apparent surrender, Naruto was actually giving serious thought on how to best escape this girl's clutches. How about this? Ino asked, turning to hold up a purple jacket. Over my body, Naruto ground out. That could be arranged, Ino responded pleasantly, then, putting the jacket up, selected a dark blue one. Ino, Naruto warned. The girl ignored him, but put it back anyway, before grabbing another jacket. This would work. Seconds later, she produced a solid black jacket and turned toward him, which prompted her to start blushing for some damn reason. Naruto suspected that it was because Sasuke had taken to wearing black. Excuse me, Naruto hissed, narrowing his eyes. But do I look like some goth pretty boy Uchiha? As if you could look half as good as Sasuke-kun, Ino shot back sarcastically, but, amazingly, kept from him upside the head. It's either this or white. Oi, I told you, I'm not giving up my orange. Ah, Ino suddenly brightened, holding a finger up. Now that I think of it, white would be perfect, though you might stain it. I guess that would mean you'd have to give up ramen. Ack, Naruto shouted, jumping as he pointed at her. I knew it. You're a Oni in disguise. I'll never forsake orange or ramen. The Chunin exam, Ino said smugly. That was when Naruto had an utterly brilliant idea. Glancing over her shoulder, he suddenly paled, pointed and shouted the only possible thing that would allow him a chance of escape. SASUKE shirtless. Where? Ino shouted, whirling around, which was, of course, exactly the chance Naruto needed to escape. By the time she noticed he was gone, Naruto was already on the roof and darting away. Listening to her curses, Naruto laughed. Once he was safely away from that insane girl, he slowed to a more leisurely lope along the rooftops, heading for his one true desire. The one thing that he had nearly wept with despair over how long he had gone without, sweet, delicious Ichiraku ramen. Seconds later, he dropped to the street below and parted the entrance curtains to enter his favorite stand. Hey kid, what'll it be? Asked the familiar chef. The usual, and make it fast, I'm starving. Answered Naruto with a grin. It was good to be home. Weapons, check. New jacket, check. Ramen packs, check. Anko smirked, surveying the small bundle on the bed. Satisfied that she had collected everything, the Jonin picked the bundle up and turned, striding out of the bedroom and then through the dingy apartment, closing the door with a heavy thunk. Slipping the bundle into a hidden pouch on the inside of her trench coat, Anko considered the building. How could Naruto ever have found the place? Oh, she had no trouble believing that he could be annoying enough for an orphanage to kick out, but that still didn't explain how such a child could not only wander into such a neighborhood unaccosted, but also find an apartment. Anko did, of course, have a few theories, but in all honesty it didn't matter. Glancing at the wino sleeping in the corner near the building, she sighed and, with 3 rebounding jumps, was on the roofs and headed back toward the center of the village. Turning her mind away from the slums, she, instead, focused on what Hiroko and Makoto had told her yesterday. Part of her was confused about the impossibility of what they claimed Naruto had done, while the other part wanted to cackle. Either way she s it, however, it only firmly affixed in her mind that Naruto was everything she had been told and begun to hope for. Thus, when she had heard that Hayat's team would arrive today, she had known exactly who to take as her partner for her new mission. Best of all, she was protected by orders from the Hokage himself. Reaching the area where that ramen stand he was so fond of was located, Anko dropped to the street and weaved her way through the crush of people. It was not something she was used to doing much anymore. She tended to avoid getting in the heart of crowds, but it wasn't that bad. However, when she reached the ramen stand and discovered the closed to recover from the Naruto rush sign, Anko suddenly lost her tolerance for the crowd around her. Shoving 2 men aside, she performed another rebounding jump to regain the rooftops where she set off at an easy pace, wondering where else the blonde would go. Well, eventually he would head home, but that would probably be after he went to all of his various hangouts. Coming to a stop, she frowned. He had never mentioned any place, but if she knew him at all, she had a good idea of where he would go after that ramen stand. Turning to her left, she started off once more, heading toward the Hokage mountain. It was actually rather obvious. After all, his dream was to be Hokage. So, where else would the blonde go after a mission in which he ka Jonin level ninja and several giant spiders? 10 minutes later, she left the rooftops once more and landed in the street, staring up at the mountain and the metal stairs that would lead to the public landing. Darting up them, it took her only 5 more minutes to spot the vague orange blob on top of the mountain, which allowed her to pull off a shunshin and reach the top without wasting any more time. Landing, Anko took a moment to choose her words carefully, then snuck up behind the oblivious boy. Hey, runt. Heard you were back. Naruto jerked, nearly fell, then jumped to his feet, a grin on his face. Anko. Ugh, you're not going to hug me, are you? Anko asked, smirking. When the blonde crossed his arms and snorted, she reached into her coat, producing the bundle. Good, 'cause we have a mission and don't have time for that mushy s. A mission. Naruto blinked, catching the package as she tossed it to him. But I just got back. It's A-ranked and time-sensitive, Anko explained, ignoring his protest. After all, she was pretty sure he wouldn't mind going on another mission, especially if it was A-ranked. So hurry up, get dressed and let's go. She was right. In a matter of minutes, Naruto had the bundle open, his replacement jacket on and the replacement weapons tucked away. Grinning, he looked up at her, excitement and joy in every line of his face. Oi, so what's the mission? Quote. Let's get moving first, Anko hedged, knowing that she might be pushing things. Even with orders from the Hokage, Anko was very aware of how much trouble she could get into. After all, strictly speaking, she wasn't supposed to be taking Naruto out on missions anymore. Okay, let's go, Naruto shouted, darting past her, and Anko grinned, darting after him. It took them several minutes to reach the bottom of the mountain, then another 20 or so to reach the nearest gates. She almost laughed at the surprised look on the guards' faces as they shot past them at high speed. So, how was your mission with that team? Anko finally asked after they were safely out of the village and in the forest, heading for the mission location. Ha! Naruto blinked, then grinned, performing a Naruto-ish loop. I kicked her all over the place. I'm gonna be Hokage soon, believe it. So how did you manage to ka Jonin level ninja and several giant spiders? Anko asked, keeping an eye out for anyone following them. Don't really remember, Naruto answered, his blue eyes darting away, then back at her. I know I did it, I think I did, but I can't remember. Oh, well, Anko said, shrugging. In all honesty, she didn't care how he had done it, only that he had done it. After all, that proved his strength, and that was the important thing. So, you said this was a super important mission. Naruto shouted a minute later, double timing it to keep pace beside Anko. It is, Anko allowed, glancing at him with a smirk in place. See, the Fire Daimyo is making his annual state visit of the country. Huh, so, what's the big deal? Naruto asked, blinking in curiosity. Well, during his visit to Edyoto, there was an attempt. Anko gave the blonde a curious glance, noticing his surprise. What makes this so important is the man who attempted to the daimyo, Katsumoto of Konoha Anbu. What? Keep your voice down, Anko growled, pleased to note the look he gave her. Now, then. The daimyo was understandably upset and, after a lot of things you don't even want to hear about, started searching for Katsumoto's partner, Susan. And Susan, of course, killed several samurai and managed to escape to a small village called Fushimi, which will take us about a week to reach. Anko shook her head, voice growing serious. A week. Naruto blinked, frowning. The Chunin exam. You'll be back in plenty of time, Anko said dismissively. This is a different type of mission than you're used to. See, the samurai can't forcibly take the village due to the villages. Even if they could, Susan has gathered a few missing genin together, so that would mean a mission. So, our mission is what, exactly? My mission is very simple. Since I know Susan and how he fights, I'm to enter the village and capture him, Anko explained, smirking. As for your mission, all you need to do is handle the genin. Of course, if I were you, I'd treat this like a Chunin exam. Huh, why? This is the sort of mission Chunins sometimes get assigned. So, it's a perfect warm-up for you, Anko explained, waving her hand dismissively. It's a judgment call on what you do with the genin. Oi, what the hell do I do, then? Naruto shouted. I know, that's up to you. However, since this is an high-priority A-ranked mission, you get to use whatever means you deem necessary. Anko grinned, glancing at him, sure that he would like what was coming next. Including the jutsu I'm going to teach you before we reach the village. Really? Naruto asked, eyes lighting up at the thought of learning new jutsu. Yep. Futon, Daitopper, an extremely powerful wind attack. Anko smiled sweetly. It's one of the most practical techniques available, especially for you. Ha, remember that paper I had you hold and split with your chakra on the way back from Kusa? Anko asked absently, wondering how best to explain herself. Well, even he had to know about chakra types, it was a basic concept, after all. It told me that your chakra type is wind-based, which is really good. Means you're best suited for fighting and makes wind-based jutsu stronger in your hands. Wind-based, Naruto echoed blankly. Anko gritted her teeth, glaring at him, unable to believe that he could have been so stupid. You really did sleep through the academy, didn't you? She asked scathingly, unable to help it. Seeing his frightened look, she snorted, forcing her frustration aside for the moment. Each ninja has a tendency toward a certain element, fire and wind being the most dominant in combat types. Which means, it means, Anko grated out, her urge to hit him over the head growing stronger, that if a normal Daitopper can level 20 or 30 trees, then if you use it with your affinity for wind jutsu, it'll level 3 times that amount. Wow. Yay. Should come in handy during the Chunin exams, Anko remarked, pleased that he finally seemed to understand. Honestly, he was so thick-headed sometimes that she wondered if he had eaten a lot of paint chips as a kid. Yes, I'll be kicking her and showing everyone how strong I am, now. Naruto shouted excitedly, adding a spiral to his jump. Maybe, but first ya gotta learn it, Anko said, glancing at him dangerously. Just try not to get yourself K. Oi, I'm gonna be Hokage. I won't S until then. Naruto said loudly, glaring at her. Good. We'll start training when we stop for dinner. Until then, keep your mouth shut and your ears open. Bar. Shino found his father, as always, sitting quietly in the Aburame family training grounds. Actually, as his father had explained once before, it wasn't a typical training area. Other training areas were designed and built for combat practice. For the Aburame, it was designed to build a stronger connection with the chosen partners. Coming to within a few feet of the silent older man, he stopped, not saying a word or moving. It seemed to stretch on forever until, finally, his father turned to him, speaking in his familiar tranquil tone. Can you hear them yet? Shino remained silent for several long minutes, then nodded slightly. Yes, they ignore me, but I can hear them. Good, Shibi said, looking at a bug that was fluttering up from a piece of old wood. Hyun says that you are curious about something. Why do they react like this? Shino asked, putting his hands in his pockets. They have never reacted like this to any other creature. Kumo Iki could not cause this. Quote. There is a precedent for their reaction, Shibi said slowly, as if measuring what he was saying. 12 years ago, when Konoha fell under the wrath of the beast, he drove nearly all Aburame insane and caused our Kikaichu to turn on us. He was a demon, but how could he have such an effect on our family's connection? Shino asked quietly, head tilting forward slightly in thought. Even with the voice of his family returned, the continued rejection of him severely hampered his thoughts. He knew it was an obvious answer, but he could not quite put his finger on it, which caused a finger to twitch slightly. The beast also drove the Inuzuka hounds into uncontrollable rages, and those that were foolish enough to attempt to enter a beast-like state became berserkers. Shino frowned, then felt his eyes widen before he looked up at his father. It was obvious now, the Inuzuka had been the key for him. He was even willing to bet that the Hyuga or Uchiha were also affected if he was correct. It is because the dogs and our Kikaichu can, in a way, see the true nature of things. The beast was the lord of demons. He existed as both natural and unnatural, as all demons do. It is not unexpected that, if we could only barely sense its true nature, that the Inuzuka dogs and our Kikaichu, who see reality far more clearly than we do, would react in such a manner. So other clans were affected, as well. Yes, Shibi said, turning away slightly. All things that could perceive the true nature of the beast or touch its mind were affected. Shino nodded slightly, thinking over everything he had learned. Now that he understood the reason for his family's reaction, he could concentrate on re-establishing a dialogue with them. To do that, however, would mean that he would have to skip team meetings, especially if he wished to be ready for the coming exam. I have spoken with Hayate-san, his father suddenly said, turning completely, as if to walk away. He agrees that it would be best if you took this time to recover. Thank you, Shino said, watching his father walk away silently. Alone, Shino turned his attention to the training grounds, walking to his favorite location beneath an overturned tree. Settling in, he took a deep breath and then closed his eyes, considering how best to go about this. Mentally shrugging, he sighed, speaking to his family quietly. I'm listening, he said, then prepared for a long wait. That stupid jerk, Ino muttered to herself, pushing her way through the forest, heading for the training grounds. There was no denying that Ino was angry, mostly because she had been outsmarted by Naruto. How could she have fallen for such an obvious trick? Honestly, how likely was it that Sasuke would be shirtless in a store? Ugh, that was so totally wrong. Shoving that aside, and promising retribution, she turned her attention toward the reason why Hayate had told her to meet him here. Despite asking him to teach her kenjutsu after they had recovered from the various ailments, he had yet to tell her whether he would or not. He refused to let her even handle his sword anymore, which was annoying since Ino had begun to feel almost without it. Still, it looked promising, which was why she had made it a point to check with her father to see if he was okay with it. He hadn't been thrilled, but he supported her decision if she truly felt she needed to know it. He had, however, insisted that she continue practicing the family jutsu, mainly, as he had told her while smiling, because that way, when I eventually have grandchildren, you can teach them. As if, Ino said to herself stepping into the training area. There was no way she was ever going to have a kid. Then again, her mother said that every girl felt that way at her age. Looking around curiously at the area, she wondered where exactly Hayate was. Glancing at her watch, she frowned, it was exactly noon. Sighing, Ino walked over to a training post and sat down, unsure of what to do until the man arrived. Seconds stretched into minutes, and minutes seemed to stretch into hours. Ino, feeling restless, turned her eyes to her surroundings, then she reached out and scraped a patch of ground bare of pine needles and leaves. Selecting a nearby twig, she scratched Sasuke's name in the dirt, sighing almost wistfully. What chances did she have, in all honesty? Sakura was already on his team. That they were getting closer was inevitable. Ino was almost willing to bet that Sakura had the Uchiha wrapped around her little finger. Sakura was not stupid, nor was she ugly. Which meant, looking at her prospects for actually winning Sasuke's affections, there was no chance outside of Sakura losing total and complete interest in Sasuke. Ino had to laugh at that impossibility. Sakura was obsessed with the boy, there was no other word for it. Other girls could admit that there were other cute guys around, Sakura didn't. It was almost frightening at times, now that Ino thought back on her academy days, at how fixated Sakura actually was. Looking down at the name etched in the dirt, she sighed and scratched it out. There are two kinds of shinobi, no matter what village they belong to. Jerking, Ino stared up at Hayate, who was crouching on a training post, an odd bundle under arm. The man coughed into his rag and then gave her a surprisingly intense gaze. What? There are two kinds of shinobi, Hayate repeated, his eyes never leaving her face. The first kind are those called geniuses. The second kind are those I call artists, and others call hard workers. What's the difference? Ino asked, deciding to keep her urge to berate the man for being late in check for the moment. On the surface, there isn't one, both are accurate and precise, Hayate explained before he jumped off the training post and crouched in front of her. Fundamentally, however, they differ a great deal. Ino nodded, watching as Hayate set the bundle under his arm on the ground between them. That still doesn't explain what the difference is. The genius believes that his natural talent is enough, and, when he fights, he has no passion. The artist, however, he knows that whatever natural talent or lack thereof he has, is not enough. When he fights, he does so with everything he has, Hayate explained, undoing the strings on the bundle to reveal 5 wooden swords. And this has what to do with me. Kenjutsu, like ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu or any other skill is a lifetime pursuit, one that can never be set aside. What do you mean? Ino blinked, staring at him. She had a feeling that he was telling her that, once she started with this training, she would never be able to stop. I mean, if you want to learn Kenjutsu, truly learn it, then you have to continue learning no matter what, Hayate explained, looking down at the wooden swords as if considering something. For the Chunin exam, I will teach you some of the Anbu basics as well as some of my own style. After that, however, I won't train you until you decide. Decide what? If you are a genius or an artist. Coughing once more, he nodded at the wooden swords. These are specially designed practice swords. Okay, Ino said, blinking. So, what do you want me to do? Select one, Hayate explained. Each one is designed to resist the channeling of chakra, which will build your capacity. When you can channel enough chakra through one of these, you'll be allowed a specially designed sword that will work on your control. Shrugging, Ino looked down at the swords, considering each one for a moment. Well, if she had to pick one, she would just get it over with. That decided, she reached out to grab a wooden sword with a jagged-looking blade, only to stop short. Frowning, she looked at another one and reached for it, but stopped yet again. Each time she reached for a sword, she would stop, until, finally she crossed her arms and scowled. Each one had something that made her want to use it. It was like trying to choose between Sasuke and 4 other extremely cute guys. After several more minutes, she finally selected one and, amazingly enough, it felt natural in her hand. Good, Hayate said, rewrapping the others. What do you mean good? Well, each practice sword has a different level of resistance. Most people would have just grabbed the first one they felt like. You hesitated and then decided on the one best suited to your needs. So, what now? Ino asked, climbing to her feet as Hayate did. It felt natural to hold the sword, but she really didn't know a whole lot, just whatever that clone had taught her. We have little over 2 weeks until the Chunin exam, Hayate explained, walking over to a training post where he set the bundle down. Turning, he stared at her intently. I've spoken to Shino and to your father. They understand that we will spend this time training. Okay, so, how long will that take? Ino blinked, hefting her sword, trying to find a comfortable grip. Well, you seem to have some natural talent with a sword, so we'll spend 10 hours on Kenjutsu each day, then another 10 hours building up your chakra, Hayate said before coughing. What? That's 20 hours a day. Ino shouted, eyes wide in disbelief. There could be no way he could be serious. That would mean she would have 4 hours to sleep, and when the hell would she get to eat? To be ready for the Chunin exams, you'll have to train at least 3 times harder than normal, Hayate responded seriously. If you don't want to learn, I suggest you leave right now. Fine. Ino sputtered, eyes narrowing intently. There was no way she would back down now. Then let's begin. Feel the currents, focus your chakra, deep breath, Naruto muttered, concentrating as best he could, moving his hands into the Tori seal. Futon, Daitopper. Seconds later, Naruto collapsed to his hands and knees, panting. That was his 20th attempt in the last hour. Well, at least this time you managed to knock over a tree, Anko said from behind him. I did. Naruto blinked and looked up, straining to see in the gathering gloom. There, indeed, where a large tree had been standing, was nothing. Jumping to his feet, Naruto thrust his fist into the air. Yes. Yay, still kinda weak, Anko said, climbing to her feet. Come on, let's get moving again. I'd rather not draw too much attention to ourselves. Right, Naruto said, catching his breath as he stretched before moving to retrieve his pack. Slinging it over his shoulder, he turned, following her into the trees once more and wondering whether they would get a chance to sleep. Well, he would probably spend any free time practicing, anyway, so it was a moot point. Still, it would be nice to sleep in peace. Shaking his head, Naruto turned his mind to something else that had been nagging at him. This mission, something about it felt weird. Mostly because the further they went, the more irritable Anko seemed to become, and while she could be sadistic, vicious and annoyed, she was never like this. Hey Anko. What? Well, I've been thinking, Naruto said slowly, glancing at the woman. There's something wrong about this mission. Anko didn't respond immediately, and Naruto started to fear she had decided to kill him. He even opened his mouth to say something when she beat him to it. Yes, it is wrong. Someone is turning us against each other, Anko said slowly, glancing at him. An enemy is easier to fight and kill if it's outside, but if it's inside then it's much harder. Whatever the purpose of unity is, it can't be what they led others to believe. What is unity? Naruto asked, looking at her curiously. We're not sure, Anko answered with a shrug. We know that it's made up of mostly Anbu, with some normal Jonin, but, other than that, we know almost nothing except that they recognize each other by a hand sign. What hand sign? A basic variation on the, all together, sign, Anko supplied, demonstrating briefly. Most hand signs are common sense, used in small squads. So, of course, unity would use a common one, who would notice a slight variation. Oi. But how come we only know about that? Naruto blinked. Use your damn head, Anko snapped, glaring at him. These are not stupid genin or chunin. These are highly trained special operation ninja and field-tested jonin. They're almost impossible to break. Ibiki is the only one we have that's managed to break even one of them. Who? Morino Ibiki. He's in charge of the interrogation and T division of the Anbu. Of the 5 divisions within Anbu, his is the most useful now, and with his complete understanding of the human mind, he'll get whatever information we need to know. 5 divisions. Anko sighed, as if restraining her instincts to snap at him. Yes. Inside the ANBU, there are 5 divisions, which is to say, the groups made up of people that specialize in certain aspects of the Anbu. In simpler terms, every ninja within Anbu specializes in one field. Some, like Ibiki, specialize in T and interrogation. Hayate, for example, was actually part of a group that specialized in information gathering and protection, which is probably why he was originally chosen as the sensei for ninja ideally suited to spying. Oh, Naruto said, then, after a moment, stared at her. So, you were in the Anbu? Yes, Anko answered tiredly. Then, what did you specialize in? Anko said, flashing a wicked grin at him. I am very good at it. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.